So welcome everyone to our presentation from OmniSync. We have Rupak Doshi, who is the founder, and are you the CEO too, Rupak?
Yeah.
CEO and founder of OmniSync, and we're so excited about this recent partnership that we've established with OmniSync for our students in the Rec Innovation Lab here at San Diego Miramar College. And we're just very, very excited about the partnership and about what they're doing at OmniSync. And this is also a startup, but a startup that is just doing so well, growing fast, and it's a company to watch right here in San Diego. So we're happy to be working with you. We're happy to be working with you. And with that, I'll pass it over to you and let you take it away and tell us what you want to tell us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tanya. Yeah, I mean, we are a startup, like you said, but a startup that is basically designed to help other startups. So it's not something that you see commonly out there. Not too many startups out there have products that are specifically focused on the startup market. I mean, the two that I can think of are Brex and Carta, and even they, for the most part, like target later stage and more successful startups. So like nobody's really being able to target the early green, grassroots stage entrepreneurs, which I think that's where the problem is, where like most of these grassroots entrepreneurs never get to that next stage where they become interesting enough for investors to even look at them. And so too many good ideas die before they get to being real. And I think we'd like to fix that.
We are going to fix that. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing at the Rec, and that's what you're doing at OmniSync. And together, I know we're going to make this this change. I know this.
Right. So yeah, anyway, but yeah, so thanks so much for having us. Great to have this partnership going. I think it's a really good alignment of the minds. So we at OmniSync, we're a startup, like Tanya said, we're designed to help early stage green grassroots level startups and entrepreneurs who are looking for that first pot of money at a stage where most investors usually will not be able to help because the startups are so risky at that stage. So we come in and try to break that cycle of going to an investor, asking for money, investor saying you're too early, get some validation done, and then you need the money to do the validation. So that cycle, we're trying to break that cycle. So also for those of you who know Launch Factory, it's a local San Diego startup studio in town. We're actually their first company. So we started back last year in 2019, and so far what we've done is proven some of our earlier concepts that we started with, and have a product now that is out there making some money and having some customers, serving them well, and we have some successes to show for it. And more recently, we also were accepted into the Evo Nexus program for acceleration, and so we're really excited about that as well. But yeah, so like I said, our company, what we help entrepreneurs with is getting non-dilutive funding. It's usually in the format of grants, contracts, and alternative financing like loans. Non-dilutive, for those of you who don't know, non-dilutive funding basically means that it's funding that is given to you as a company for anything that you don't have to give away equity or ownership in the company to anybody. So you basically get that money and it's all yours. You don't share any ownership of your company with anybody. And that almost sounds too good to be true for people who don't know about non-dilutive funding, but it does exist, and it's really cool when you do actually get it. But that seems to be a bit of a major, project for most people, most entrepreneurs. So it's like I kind of draw parallels to scaling a mountain, like that. So what we've done to help with that is we have various support structures on our platform that kind of help entrepreneurs along the way and guide them towards scaling the summit. And so you can think about anything under the sun that an entrepreneur or a startup, a small business might need on their way to becoming a successful company outside of product development is something that OmniSync has resources to help you execute on. And so we kind of become a one-stop shop for startup success. And so today I'm going to be talking to you about grants and contracts, and that's kind of what I think most startups are in dire need for. And there are several kinds of grants available out there. They're mainly classified into 3 different buckets. The first of it, and probably the most relevant for you guys, is grants given for R&D work, for product development, for technology development. There are also grants available to support diversity, inclusion, different small business support. So this is all your FedEx small business grants and Poise grants and all these other ones that are available. And then there are also contracts that are available where the government basically contracts companies, small businesses, to either for getting new technologies or for routine day-to-day work like fixing pipes and making roads and stuff like that, or doing a media campaign on something that they're doing. So there are lots of different kinds of government funding tools available for small businesses, and OmniSync kind of helps companies across all of these. But today I'm going to be talking to you mainly about this particular section, which deals with grants given for early stage product R&D, which is something that most startups will be doing. So the one point to iterate here is that there's a common myth out there that grants are only given for academic research, for professors, to do lab work and stuff. And that is completely wrong, because this particular type of grant that we're talking about is exclusively given to startups. So if you're not a for-profit, you're not even eligible to apply. So this is actually, think of it like a set aside pot of money from the government only given to startups. And the other myth is people think that these sorts of grants are only given to folks studying health and medicine. And that's not true either. From this slide that you see, it's like the funding is actually available from almost any area of science and technology that you come from, be it transport, being energy, be it education even. Of course, health and defense have a major chunk of this money. But at the same time, there is money available across all these areas. And the other point to make here is that most agencies nowadays are funding interdisciplinary research. And so a lot of agencies are funding things that you would never expect that agency to fund. So even Department of Defense is funding stuff with Alzheimer's, so lots of other kinds of weird things that you would never expect, but they do happen. So point being that most of our customers were able to find multiple fits for them across different agencies. And so you can apply for different types of grants from different agencies. The other really cool thing about this grant program is that it actually scales with your company. So it's given at every stage of the company, right from the first stage where you don't even have a prototype built. So this is where you're trying to validate a concept. So they give you money, and a very, very good amount of money, like 50 to 250K, just to validate a concept that you're working on. Then you kick into phase 2, and the success rates are really good, where you basically get up to $1.5 million for developing and testing a prototype. And think about this, like $1.5 million is usually it's the kind of money that companies would die for from investors, and investors take 10, 20% of equity for something like this. This pot of money from the government takes zero equity in your company. So you can get $1.5 million for nothing given away from your company. And it actually supports, your stage that you're at. And then once you've kind of validated your prototype, then you get funding for phase 3. This is what's mentioned on the slide as in like not SPR funding. That just means that the pot of money that comes from the government is not classified as SPR, but what they do is they do matching funding to any external funding that you can bring in. So think about yourselves as a startup that has a prototype, it's been validated in the market, and now investors are super interested.
She told you to drink.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. Think about your startup as as a stage where you've validated your prototype, and now you have investors who are really excited to fund you. Think about how cool it will be when you go to an investor and tell them that, look, you give me half of my raise that I want, and I will actually give you, I'll top it up with another half that you don't have to lose any equity over. And so that's what this phase 3 commercialization funding is all about. All right, and I have no idea why there are these blue streaks across the screen. I have no idea what that is. But anyhow, just to give you an idea of how much money we're talking about here. Guys, if you don't mind, could you please mute? Could you please mute yourselves?
The same thing I was just about to say. Please mute yourselves and turn your microphones off. Thank you. And your videos. Thank you.
So, okay, so to give you an idea of how much money we're talking about, so on the left here, you see data from PitchBook, Gust, and Fundable on how much angel and seed investing happens in the US. So this is data from 2019. About $9 billion total were given to angel or seed stage companies by investors at a success rate of 1 to 2%. So this is really tight, right? Like 1 out of 50 or 100 actually get funded. And then obviously those dilutive, so investors will take some equity in your company. But despite these terms, more than 90% of startups at some point in their early stage of the life will try and talk to an investor to get funding. Here's the comparison for SPR grants from the government. Almost half the amount of money is available, but at 10 times better the success rate. It's averaging around 15%. So that's really, really good, right? And it's completely non-dilutive, where they don't take any equity in your company. But here's the big problem here, and you can look at it as a problem. I would look at it as an opportunity, where less than 5% of startups even try. And so you're actually competing with not that many submissions compared to what an angel or a seed investor is hearing all the time throughout the day in terms of how many pitches they hear. So the question, remains to be asked as to, like, if the deal looks so good on paper with the government grants, why aren't startups trying harder? And so our research has kind of led us to these conclusions, where the big problem is that it's super tedious and expensive to apply. So think about doing your taxes without a CPA and without having information on the tax law. So think about you having to find that 800-page tax law manual from somewhere and reading through 800 pages, learning how taxes are done, and then going to the forms and doing them yourself. That's the parallel that we draw of how difficult it is to do grants by yourself. So it's laborious. There's government documentation. An example is, this is one of the agencies, the NIH. The instructions for how to complete an SPR application is about a 171-page document, and it still doesn't cover everything you need to know about putting a grant together. And so now you think about applying for 2 or 3 agencies. They all have their own rules of how to go about it. So now you can multiply that number by 2 or 3, and that's the amount of information that you'd have to digest to even start thinking of applying. And so that's obviously not beyond the capacity and time availability for most entrepreneurs. And on the other hand, if you engage consultants, they're really expensive because they're charging you for their own time, and their hourly rate for consultants who are decent is averaging about like $200 or $300 an hour. And so it usually costs about $5,000 for one grant if you want to work with a consultant, and that's really, really hard for most startups to do. And so we came up with this solution to that problem, where we were like, all right, you know what? This is the textbook definition of where software should come into play, because there's an industry. It's really archaic. It's like we kind of started to draw parallels with the whole tax world. Like I said, there was a time when you could not do your taxes without a CPA, and TurboTax came in and changed the game completely, right? That now you could do your own taxes because they walked you through all the different things you need to put together forms that are required to file your taxes. And the same thing can be said for LegalZoom, right? Where you could not do in corporations or whatever without lawyers who would charge you thousands of bucks. And now you can get your thing incorporated on LegalZoom for a couple of $100. And they provide you the lawyer, or they provide you the CPA if you need it, but only as and when you need. So you're not spending as much time, i.e. money, on them. And so that's kind of our solution, where we have a platform. It's a technology-enabled consultancy, if you will, that walks all our customers through all the different steps required, all the resources that are needed to put together a strong proposal. And we've actually already done this successfully with a few customers already. And it was great because one of these guys, Scale Power, was one of our first customers. He joined us. He had no academic training in how to write grants or whatever. He's not a Ph.D. or not, he's a businessman. And he came in and without knowing anything, within 15 days, he was able to put together a full SBR phase 1 proposal for the US Air Force. And within 30 days after that, he actually got awarded the grant, $50K. He basically put about a couple $100 or whatever with us and got $50K out of it. As that was really cool, right? To see that kind of an ROI for someone who you would never imagine would be a textbook, grant awardee from a CV perspective, So there's a lot that can happen. The government really wants to fund startups like these. So again, summary being that don't write this off. All right, so just switching gears a little bit into how we can help.
It looks like we might have a little bit of a... So...
Tanya, were you saying something?
Yeah, I was just saying we had a little bit of a little bit of a lag there, and it looks like we have you back though, so everything's great.
Okay, cool. Where did I miss you guys? Where did I lose you guys?
It was just at the beginning of the slide.
Oh, yes, I haven't started the slide at all. So
Perfect,
let me,
then. Perfect. You're good.
okay, cool. So this is kind of now just switching gears a little into how we can help you guys as OmniSync. So we, like I said, we walk you through all the different steps throughout the process. And so the first one is sourcing, like where do you find and how do you find these opportunities? So in this, there's actually multiple things involved where we help you understand your strategy of, what you're doing and which agencies it would fit best in a broad perspective. And then we go into more detailed agency and startup matchmaking, where we go through all the different funding opportunities and everything. And then we match make and create a pipeline for your startup of which grants you would apply for. And then again, contrary to some of the myths that people think that, okay, this is a one-off, I'll apply for a grant and forget about it. That's usually not how it goes. People who apply for grants and work with the SPR world, they do it on a repeated basis because they see how valuable it is to get this kind of money. So it becomes a habit. It's like CEOs never stop fundraising. And that's kind of, I guess, one of the take home, mentoring thing that you guys can take as CEOs, whoever are there in the audience, that you will never stop fundraising for your company. And so this is a way to fundraise without giving equity. And so you would never stop doing something like this, especially once you get the hang of it and you really know and understand how agencies work. It's really cool to keep getting money from the government for this. All right, so then switching into registration. So this is what you need to be eligible to apply for these grants. And so there are a couple of them that you have to get done to be eligible for all agencies. One of them, SAM, is a real pain in the butt to actually do because it's really tedious. It's a very, very old system that you have to work with. And so what we do is really handhold you throughout the process through things like really detailed line by line guides or even screen share. We kind of, make appointments and get on screen share with our companies and help them, complete the SAM process. One thing that you guys might want to think about, make sure you have on your minds that when you start doing Googling on this sort of stuff, there are things that will pop up because this, is difficult to execute. There are companies out there that will charge you just to do SAM registration or renewal. Trust me, this is not something that you need to pay for. It is free from the government. It should be free to you. It is included in everything else that we do as a perk anyway. It's just something that you should not, just try and stay away from these sorts of scams. All right, and then we switch into feasibility. So this is where once you know the agency that you are a good fit for, once you've registered, you're eligible, you're ready to go, you kind of have to think about historically what the agency has funded in your topic and how you can, couch your topic a bit more clearly so that they see the value of what you're doing. And so that involves historical research that we do for you, advising you on how to approach different persons in charge at the government to give you feedback informally, even before, getting into the whole submission. That's something that we help you with. And then that goes into the entire strategy of how to create your proposal. And with that, then you kick into grant writing mode, where then we help you with templates, detailed guides of what to write where, and successful samples that you can look at, and then, write down what you really need to do, and then couch that appropriately. And of course, like admin help, documentation help, all that comes unsaid along with your, along with engaging with us. So you don't have to go onto Google and think about absolutely anything or research anything, spend any time on any of the stuff because we've done it for you and it's ready to go. So all you need to worry about is your science and is your tech. Also, to help more with this sort of stuff, we actually have other resources on our platform that help you with grant writing. So if you've never written a paragraph in your life before, and if you cannot look at these samples and come up with something that you can write out, then for those sorts of folks, we actually have PhD level folks who have agreed to write grants out for our customers at a flat fee. And that's really affordable compared to most other consultants. And there's always a budget component for any grant because you have to tell the government how you're going to use the money that they give you. And this is true for any grant proposal that you'll ever submit anywhere. So on our platform, we actually have, partnered with a firm that can help you walk you through different budget components that you need to fill out for free. So they basically consult all our companies for free every month for a couple of hours. And so you basically get your budget done for free. And then finally, then we help you with submission. So this is where, again, there's data out there that suggests that despite having all documentation ready to go, submission on each of these government systems is a huge pain because, again, you're working with old systems. They aren't designed as modern apps are, which most people are used to. And so then we kind of give you hands-on support there with detailed guides and screen shares on how to get submission done. So in essence, what we're doing is saving months and months of work that you would otherwise have to go through. And in doing that, we're trying to demystify this entire government grant process so that it becomes amenable and tangible for everyone at the startup phase to apply for. And so that reduces the energy barrier for everyone. I did say that we have a bunch of different support structures on our platform. So some of the partners we work with are here. We have a lot of awesome discounts with all of these guys. So if you ever need any of the services as a startup would need that you actually are thinking about paying for, check with us once on what a deal we can get you with any of the partners. We have a lot of resources at awesome discounts and sometimes even for free. And with that, I think that's my 20 minutes, and I would love to take a lot of questions before we can close out the session.
I have a quick question for you. So how do you, or do you have any process of identifying the type of people that, or the type of businesses that you will work with, or do you just kind of work with anybody?
No, so depending on what you need, right? Like if you need help with developing your product only, that's not us. So we can connect you probably with some folks who can help you with that. But we typically will not get into product development for companies because that becomes custom for every company. And that's not scalable from our standpoint. Yes, if it's something to do with oncology and cancer drugs, because I have a long background in cancer biology and cancer therapeutics, I can just help these guys out just offhand. Or if it's in technology development like software or bioengineering or whatever, then Norman can, like my co-founder. But beyond that, we don't really get into nitty-gritty details about product development. But outside of that, any help you need from a business standpoint, we can usually find help for you in one way or another. So I hope that answers your question about who we work with. Now, specifically when it comes to SPR grants, there are a couple of things that we look for in companies to make sure that they're a good fit. And that's kind of the whole, the high level strategy session. That's what the first session is all about, to really understand if you're the right fit, or to tell you if you're not, then this is what you would need to become a good fit for these sorts of grants.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
I'll tell you, by and large, most startups find a fit. I've not had startups that don't.
Yeah. I want to follow up on that. So you're saying you basically go through a first level session with everybody. Is that for free? I mean, how do you work your company? Because you're a company, right?
Yeah. So let me walk you through our business model. So our standard business model, if you go onto our website and everything, it's you basically sign up for our services, which are $100 a month. Everything on our platform is all included for $100 a month. And that includes, unlimited consulting, counseling, everything. There's a 7-day free trial. And so you basically get that strategy session done during that free trial to know if you're a good fit. And if you're not, then you don't spend any money. Now, for Rec, we actually have a partnership with Rec where we will be able to waive that $100 a month subscription fee for all Rec teams. And so I would love to chat with you later about how we can do that. But we've put something in place with Tanya. I just don't want to say it publicly because I know this session is being recorded, and I also don't really know if there's anyone else outside of Rec on this session. So I didn't want to publicly mention any details about the partnership. So
we can talk. Yeah, we can talk about it after one-on-one with our Rec. So thanks.
I have a ton of questions. So so here. I mean, if I could just write them up if you want. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, if you'd like to put them in the chat, that would be great. And then, I mean, if there's maybe just a
because we do have time. Depending on how many other questions are there, I can go on firing the answers to them.
All right, I just didn't want to take up because I've actually helped somebody once with an ESPR, and it was tedious. So what did you? How long have you been doing this? You as a company?
We're a startup ourselves. So we started September last year as a company. So our beta version launched early this month, early this year in February. And so far it's been great. I mean, personally, we've done a bunch, like my co-founder and I mean, we came from academic backgrounds. You know, we all have done a lot of grants. So we know the space really well. But as a company and as a platform, we've been doing this since February.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the reason I was asking is I was wondering if you have an average amount of time for you. For one of the things, I believe if I remember correctly, this has been like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. One of the things is you need a tech lead, or not a tech lead, but you need a lead for whatever you're doing that's may or may not be part of your company that oversees what you're doing. At least that's what happened with the company that I was helping at the time or mentoring with. So is that part of what you provide as well?
So that is not true because actually the principal investigator on an SPR grant has to be employed majority by the company. So it cannot be from someone outside the company. So your R&D lead, the technology lead, or the lead who will be managing the entire project and has the know-how to be able to manage the entire project has to be majority employed by the company that's receiving the SPR. So you cannot have somebody else, basically. You cannot outsource your tech lead. But what we do provide is we provide a lot of intros if somebody needs to form partnerships and subcontractor kind of relationships with other firms and academic labs if the company doesn't have the resources to be able to execute on some of the project specifics.
I know. I think what would be really helpful for everybody on this call, I think there's a bunch of people on, is for you to explain what that lead has to do and how it works into the company, because that is really critical. If you don't have that person or that skilled enough for the government to accept, so can you just talk in general about that person and how that works? Because I think that'd be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, so basically every agency looks at the team really, really strong, right? That's one of the top decision points for them. The principal investigator is the person who's going to be overseeing the entire project. The project usually is something to do with product development and R&D. If it's straightforward, the SPR is not going to fund you because the I in SBIR, I stands for innovation. And they define innovation as being something that has not been done, which basically means that it's high risk or it has a level of risk associated with it, which justifies government funding. And so if it's, let's say, for example, if you were making an Uber app, for example, that would not be classified as a risky project because that app already exists and a framework already exists, and you can basically pay somebody, a dev shop, to basically develop that app, just copy it over. You don't need any special skill set to make sure that the UI, UX, or whatever, the code or the integrations or whatever have to be correct and have to work for your application. You don't have to justify any of that. So that would be an example of where innovation comes into play and why it's so important. And this person, who is the principal investigator, has to be knowledgeable in the field to be able to manage that innovation development. And so what I'm not saying is that this person does not have to be a professor or PhD in the field. That is not true. But the person has to have the background and the know-how to be able to manage the project's ups and downs when it comes to technology development. So he or she does not have to be a technology person themselves, although that really helps. So a premium example of that is Skill Power, where the PI is basically a behavioral person. She's not an app developer, but the company is actually an app development company, right? But the person doesn't do app development, but she has the knowledge to be able to advise and guide the development of the app. So that's kind of, that will give an example. And another person also who I know is a general manager of a company who's a PI, but that person is not a product development expert, but that person knows exactly what needs to get done and has the entire skill set to be able to manage the entire project. So does that, I hope that clarifies it enough, at least to the scope of this particular discussion.
Well, I just want to make sure other people understand that, because my understanding is that's the major intersection between the SBI, between the government agency and communications that come into the company, right? They go through them. And your
So
funding.
the PI, I mean, absolutely, the PI is responsible for making sure that all the aspects of the projects are his or her responsibility. You know, that's basically everything to do with, I mean, of course, money matters could be a different person. So the CEO could be the person responsible for all money exchanges, and the CTO could be the PI, for example. You know, and that's totally fine. But the PI is responsible for managing the all technical aspects of the project.
So do we have questions from any of the other audience? I see that we have a couple of questions in the chat here. One is from Haley, who's asking about how many hours that you'll spend working with the rec students or founders, I should say.
So you guys basically become our standard customers. It's just that it's not like just because you aren't paying that you guys get any second-class citizen service. It's not that, okay? So be rest assured on that front. I already do this with UCSD, and we're trying to do this with STSU. So this is not new for us. Like university incubators, you know, there's a reason why we're doing this partnership, and that's because, and this is, I think it's important to mention, is not because like, you know, we're trying to, you know, make a big publicity stunt or whatever. It's because we genuinely understand that there's two levels of startups. One is a startup that's bootstrapping, right? They're in incubators, they're bootstrapping their companies with the money that they have or they're getting from friends. But there's a level below that where it's not bootstrapping, there is no boot.
Right.
You know, it's not even bootstrapping, there is no boot.
Yeah.
No, it's zero. Your bank balance is zero. So we cannot, it's basically, I would be a bad businessman if I went and started charging these people, because they would never be able to help. They would never be able to be helped. And our goal of being able to, help that green stage entrepreneur to be able to get to that next level, I would kill the golden goose, you know, because you guys are the ones who would then, if you like our platform and if you like our services over time, you'll keep using it again. Yeah. You know, that's kind of why it makes complete business sense for us to be able to do this. So anyhow, but so be rest assured that you don't get any second-class citizen service. In terms of the amount of hours we spend, we're a startup ourselves. And so for me, it's basically, I'm on with our customers 24/7, and that's literal. You know, people ping me at night, people ping me any time of the day, pretty much, for help that they need. Whatever's not available on our system, it's available through manual, documentation and stuff that we have. So yes, we aren't a fully, automatable, self-service DIY app at this point, because we haven't been around for that long. But what we lack in automation, we supplement with really good consulting. Yeah. So you will get that. So what we won't do is we typically won't go in and write out your grant. That is physically impossible for us to be able to do for every single customer of ours. But we will give you every single thing that you would need to be able to write it. And if for whatever reason you just cannot get yourself to be able to write those words, then at that point, then we have the PhD level, people who can come in and write out your grant for a flat fee. That I cannot make free because I have to pay them.
No, yeah, of course.
So that's that. So I hope that answers that question.
I just want to say thank you. And I think that you're right. I think that these companies that the student entrepreneurs here are founding are going to go places. You've seen them, and so I think you're right. So we had some more questions. We had one from, is it E-L? That's
yeah, L. Can you give us 3 grants we might consider or look at? That's a really hard question for me to answer without any details about what you guys do. Mm-hmm. So I think I would suggest signing up and having that high-level strategy session with us, so that we can tell you. It doesn't cost you $1. You basically sign up and let me go through what you guys have, and then I can advise you on which grants might be appropriate for you to do. And then Ray, I hope that answers the question. Ray, what is the typical time length from start to getting funded? So that is a highly subjective question, because so I'll give you 2 extremes, right? One is Skill Power that put their application together in 15 days. The program he applied for gave back the result in 30 days after that. So in 45 days, he got the money. but I mean, he got approved to get the money. And that the way that program works is you have to do some work and then you bill the government basically pays you. But it basically, he got through in 45 days. And that 30 days out of those 45 days, he wasn't doing anything. They were just waiting for the government to review it. I gave you the other extreme. I have another company that started the process with one step, and then they were MIA from the platform and from all communications for 3 months. And then they came back on the 4th month and started working on it again, and again spent that 1 month really fragmented manner to produce that grant, and that is still not submitted. This is a company that started working with us in February, and they have still not finished their submission. And so that's why what I say is it's entirely subjective, because we provide you all the ammunition that you need to go through as fast as possible. But at the same time, you're still the person who's going to have to pull the trigger and type the stuff out. So we aren't going to be the ones to do that for you.
Right.
Again, TurboTax, you can spend 2 months working on the software, and you can spend 5 minutes going through TurboTax. It's entirely up to you.
I have 2 questions. I don't know if there were any in the chat.
Yeah, hold on. Let me go through 2 of them here.
Sure.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's just thank yous.
Yes. It was
Okay, cool.
Thank you. The second one was that more of a hardware, the one that's still taking time, or
No, it's an app. It's an app. It's just the founder's lousy.
Sorry about that. No, but this is just so you guys. I mean, I'm asking a lot of these questions, so I'm hoping it's helping on both sides, because the problem is if you don't pay it. From what I remember, you have to spend time putting the work together, right? It's a document you have to put together, right?
Yeah. So think about it this way. I mean, most startups, they don't fail because the idea is bad or the product is bad. They fail because execution was bad, and a lot of that execution has to do with the founder's ability to move fast and get shit done. That's not what every founder can do and works with. I mean, you really have to be focused and get stuff done, this is no different than anything else that you would do. I mean, investors, you think standing in front of a slide. I mean, if any founder thinks that standing in front of a screen and waving their hands a bunch of times will get them money, then they're in for a big surprise. So fundraising with investors is even more work, if not the same. To actually get it done completely and done right and going to due diligence and everything. So that's kind of what, there's a notion out there that people feel, I can just spend 15 minutes with an investor and get some money. That's a misnomer, complete misnomer. Unless you have friends, that's different.
Yeah, you put in the hours and you get the reward. And like you said, you're on 24/7, you're working nonstop as a startup founder. If you're not working 24/7 nonstop, you're not going to succeed, right?
You go slower. It's just, and basically the danger that somebody else might go faster than you.
Exactly. Yeah. Going slower is not a good option. So were there more questions in the chat or?
Not
Thanks,
in the
Billy.
chat.
Okay.
So I have 2 quick questions. Number 1 is, so you talked a lot about like the government grants. Do you work with private grants from like organizations and foundations?
Yeah.
And then 2 is, there was a workshop last week through REC where the person who was doing the workshop talked about how San Diego in their budget cuts doesn't have any money for government funding. So my question on that end is, where do you see like the grants and funding environment to be now with COVID and after, like in a year?
So I'll tell you one thing, at least from the entire government standpoint, from the federal side and everything, there has never been a time in the last how many ever years where records exist, where government has thrown more money in the same time period than they have over the last 4 months. They have thrown every pot of money that they could allocate outside of their operations to scientists and entrepreneurs or whoever said that they could do something about COVID-19. The amount of money that have gone, and there have been mechanisms that have allowed people to solicit, stuff where they are claiming we'll fund any amount that you need to get the job done. There's no cap on the budget. That never happens.
Yeah, it's reminding me of .com. I feel like a little like,
Bit of a dot, yeah.
Right.
It's like, so there's more money than there has ever been, for government grants, from the government for entrepreneurs claiming that they can do something about COVID-19.
Yeah.
But okay, but that aside, so and you had a bunch of questions in your question, but so one of them was, do we help with foundation grants? That's the slide up there. So the one on the right, on the left, is what I would classify. Sorry, you're probably seeing my group chat thing. Okay, so the one on the left is what I would classify as founded, because usually every foundation will fund a particular topic area, like a particular disease or some sort of a section of the society that they wanted to help or something like that. Or they'll fund things like, we want to encourage diversity and inclusion or something like that. So we have, I would say, about 20 to 30% of our customers right now are either non-profits, so they would not even be eligible for the SPIR grants because that's only for for-profit. So they're non-profits, or there are companies that are developing or working on something that would never fit into an innovation, small business innovation type thing. So we help them with non-SPR type grants. And if you think SPR grant is big, the non-SPR grant world is gigantic. It's not as uniform and standardized as the SPR world. And so it's not easy to cover in one session. It's very custom. Every grant is custom. Every agency is custom. Every foundation is custom. And so we can help you there, but it has to be on a one-on-one custom level. So
right.
we have had folks who have won, foundation money through our platform as well. And everything from like really tiny amounts, like $250, all the way to hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, there's one today that came up from the state. It's funding increasing access for youth in low income areas to natural resources and education to minimize their addiction to substances of abuse. So it's that specific, right? But it's like a $5 million or $7 million grant, and they're going to chop it up once. But if you have anything that can increase that access, you would fit, but that's also for nonprofits. But that's an example of the kind of stuff we also help with, because at the end, every grant or every proposal has a research, has a proposal of what you're going to do, like a statement of work or a project description or something like that. It has a budget component of how you're going to use the money. It has a section where you play up the team, and it has a section where you get letters of support. The 4 main elements to any grant, and there's admin stuff.
Cool.
But then basically it's all custom for these non-SPR type grants.
Right. Gotcha. Thank you.
Did that answer all of your questions that you had in that question? I think because you asked like 2 or 3 different ones. Okay.
Yes, that did.
Okay, sweet.
So do we have other questions from the audience?
Not on the chat yet.
Okay. Anybody out there in the audience have any questions for us? You can just unmute yourself and ask. So I have a question, Rupak. So it sounds like some of these grants, they might actually work for the rec itself. Would you help us too, just separately? Would you help me?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. If you'd like, absolutely, you'd be great for that. I mean, yeah, I mean, you would fit one of those grants that are increasing access for these sectors of the society that normally have no access to entrepreneurial resources.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually did send a solicitation or two to places like Connect, to Mike, and over at the plug guys.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, I mean, there's actually one from, I think it's Spark, McKelson Foundation, Spark.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, like every now and then I'll come across these, and absolutely. So now that I know that you are interested, I'll ping you some stuff too.
Let's do it. It kind of be fun. I don't have much to do lately, and may as well take all my free time.
You're not busy? Are you?
I'm kidding.
Did you say you're not busy?
I was going to say, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, I work nonstop, but I think it'd be fun to add another thing to my plate. Yeah. So I see here a couple other questions now coming in on the chat. Raj was talking about, he asked about the hiring a PhD writer for the grant. What's the benefit of having these? Well, if you have money to pay for somebody else to do it for you, I think it would be, that's the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically this service is for people who have never written like, major chunks of anything in their lives. The max that they've ever written probably is like an email that has 2 paragraphs. And you can imagine there are folks like that out there who have, if you've never had to write like, long essays or whatever, they do come through, people are like they exist. It's not that they are short on time. They just don't have the skill set to be able to write and convey a story in words. It's not something that it's at the end, it is still a bit of an art to be able to convey your ideas on paper. Not everybody can do it. You can train yourself, you can learn how to do it well. And that's a really good skill set to have, I think. And this is a great opportunity to train on that. But it's not everybody's cup of tea. So that's what that service is for. These are folks, because if you've done a PhD, you've written theses, you've written papers, that's why you know how to write. And they come, and then we matchmake companies with the kind of PhDs who have had some experience in that, in a related area. So they know a little bit about how to do a background search, how to kind of come up with ideas of how to, portray and stuff like that. So that's kind of the value that you get from them.
And it would be nice. If you're really busy and you do, I don't know anybody here in the rec who has excess money laying around, but if you do, it might be nice to kind of delegate and have somebody else do it for you.
What we have done is we've made it super affordable. So even like really early stage companies can still, engage them. But
sorry, I thought, did you say the cost for it? I can't remember, like $100 or something right now?
Well, it's $700.
It's $700?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not like, an exorbitant amount, like thousands of dollars. But at the same time, it is still something that's, if you are starting with zero, then every dollar is going to be really, really important. we got $300K of an investment, and I still think 10 times before spending even $10 on a software.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm super cheap when it comes to that stuff.
I think a lot of us are entrepreneurs. We have to think that way, it becomes part of the way that we are. So I saw. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say that you would only need it if you would only use it if you need it. That's the goal here. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have to learn how to make that judgment of you spend the money when you need it, when it makes sense for you.
So there's a couple other things on the chat here. So Lena wants to make sure that you fill out the feedback form after the event is over, and she put that there in the chat. And Stephen as well. Take this survey, fill this out, so that we can give
this in for people who are connected to the
and then Isaac wanted to make sure that if anybody has not yet connected with us on social media, just go ahead and click the link to the Bridge account. And Isaac is one of the startup founders here at the Rec Innovation Lab, and his company Bridge is shares social media. So please do that. Perfect. What else do we have in here? Oh, a couple of the mentors wanted to chat with me about whether or not they were eligible. We'll talk one-on-one. So go ahead and shoot me a message, and we'll talk about that. And do you have any other questions out there?
Yeah, Ray, EdTech is great. EdTech, there's a big push on 2 or 3 different agencies to go after EdTech right now. You just missed the Department of Education stuff, but that'll come around again by the end of the year. So that would be a really good fit. But at the same time, there are, like I said, most agencies now are doing cross-disciplinary stuff. Yeah, I would straight away start thinking.
Honestly, I was looking for a grant. So here's the deal. There are grant writers out there. You got to go find them that take a percentage of whatever money you get in the end. So I was looking at that because I was spread too thin as it was. And so that's part of the problem.
Yeah, so that obviously does exist, because that's the only other way, right, of making sure you're sustainable. But from what I know and from what I have looked at and in my research, because we also tried offering, because we've built out this whole grant writer marketplace sort of a thing, right? So we were looking for these different models out there. Most of whom that I've come across usually will not work with you purely on the basis of a success fee.
No.
They will charge you something up front and then a success fee, unless they have really validated what you guys have and thoroughly test driven that your chances of winning And that's when they'll put in the time and effort to actually, you know, do something.
And good luck if you're at early stage startup. I mean, good luck. I have not seen it. I never, you know, 10 plus years of doing this, I've never seen seen it work. I've never seen a grant writer who says, yes, early stage, no, no validation, never sold anything, and I'm going to go ahead and take my chance spending all this time writing the grant for you. It doesn't happen. It doesn't.
And
happen.
that's why I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, well, don't worry, because now you have access to here, you know, because you're in the rec, so you don't need to worry about it anymore. We've got it all set up for you. So yeah, and then we'll talk for our rec students. We're going to talk about this quite a bit in class on Thursday, and so yeah. So we'll go over the details then, and then the next steps, Rupak, would be getting in touch with you from there.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll basically, what we'll do is we'll generate a coupon code for rec teams, and basically, like, you know, based on our relationship that we have, and you can also, you know, chat with the rec teams on telling them, you know, what the deal is, okay. And whoever's interested, you know, we can move forward as quickly as they want.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I might even do some office hours, maybe even this evening. I'll do office hours so we can gauge the interest if any of the teams want to get moving on it. I don't like waiting. I don't like dragging my feet. I would much rather get this done.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, especially like if you're in environmental, you know, anything to do with, say, like doing anything that's environmental friendly or whatever, or energy for that matter, anything to do with energy. The Department of Energy's deadline's coming up. So is Environmental Protection Agency. And then agriculture is next. NSF is all year round. NIH is in September. So it's basically all of them are pretty much lined up one after the other. So you don't want to miss your chance. And there are some things that you cannot fast track from the government side. There's certain registrations will take the amount of time that they take. There's nothing you can do about it. So you have to just get going quickly on these things.
So I'll do some office hours tonight, everyone. For those of you who are in the rec, I'll send out a message to let everybody know when we're going to have office hours, but they'll be tonight after I'm done with all the other classes, and then we can get going on that. And Rupak, will you give me, maybe by tonight I can get the code from you, the coupon code?
Of course.
Send me a text or something. So I think we're out of time. Do you want to just take us out, Rupak? Say anything?
Yeah, sure. Basically, so also here's my email ID if you guys want to email me at all or call me if there's something that can be quickly handled over the phone. You know, feel free. Absolutely no issues there. But also, I will make sure that I say that, you know, it's one of these things that the investor world has kind of played down the importance of non-dilutive funding because it's against what they benefit from. It's something that I get a lot of, like, backlash from the investment community for to say something like this. But it's something that, yes, it takes time and effort, but the value of it is unimaginable. I mean, you're basically setting yourself up for a lifetime source of money that you don't have to give anything away for. It's too good. I mean, I know companies that right now, as of today, have 15 to 20 of these and have been purely funded by SPRs. They haven't taken any money from anywhere.
Yeah, they're not using any of their equity. I mean, that's crazy. But it's real. And you guys
it's real. And it's achievable. You know, we've seen it firsthand. It's achievable. It does take effort, like anything in the startup world will. But trust me, when you get one of these and you go to an investor and tell them that they will know what you've gone through, and your points for execution will skyrocket because they will know you can actually get shit done.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I would love everybody to turn on their videos. We're going to take one photo all together so that we have this, memorialized, and we'll remember this day forever. So if everybody could turn on your videos, we'll have our smile and be done. So, okay, everybody, we're going to take our photo, and 3, 2, 1, cheese. Maybe do one more just for good measure. 3, 2, 1, cheese. Awesome. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and end this meeting and then start again. So if you want to come to the next workshop, you're going to have to log back in again. Sorry, but that way we can have them stop. And Julie, did you want to say something? You're on mute.
You do want to come to the next meeting.
Do come to the next meeting. We're going to stop, come back in. I'll see everybody in just less than 1 minute.
I'm okay starting late, so you guys go up, get something to drink, do what you're gonna gotta do, and we'll come back, so.
Come back, but come right back in, everybody. Thank you, Rupak. Thank you, thank
Take
you.
the survey link with you, please.
Survey
And
link.
thank you, Rupak.
Of course, absolutely. Thanks
Thank you,
everyone for
Rupak.
listening.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So excited. All right. Bye, everyone. See you all soon. Thank you.